Hey guys, so I want to talk about my story of recovery today, how rough my life was, where it's come to, and how you can become the best version of yourself. Because this loving, kind man that is in front of you now was not always this. And I want to show you that from introspection, from removing the mask, from conquering fears, from understanding myself and my patterns, how you can slowly become a new version of yourself every day and how things start to change for you. So my journey all started when I was young. My mom was an alcoholic, so ever since I was young, and I had three younger brothers, so ever since I was young, I was always helping raise kids. She was always drinking, no matter what the age was. All the way up until I was through college, well, through high school. There was always something I was worried about with her, whether it be she was going to come home drunk and be laying on the floor, whether it be me helping her into her room, whether it be me having to get my brothers to sleep, whether it be me having to worry about what was even going on with her because I didn't understand alcoholism. But we moved around a lot. She was a waitress. She was a beautiful mom when she wasn't drinking, which was rare, but she was a beautiful mom when she wasn't. But she was a waitress who did not make a ton of money. So she did have to move around a lot, and we had to move around a lot. By the time I graduated high school, I went to 9 different schools. Out of college, 9 different schools. But so from that came a lot of misunderstanding of how kids should grow up, how they should feel secure with their parents, how they should understand themselves more than I did. And what really came from a lot of that was struggle, because I started getting into drinking and drugging, thinking nothing of it. Who cares? And I wanted to fit in with people. I didn't want to be at home, for sure, ever. So I would try and fit in with whoever was around. And a lot of the times, the people that stayed out late were the people that drank and did drugs. And so I started to get into that lifestyle when I was about 14 or 15 years old. That went on for a little while, tried to hang out with people that maybe weren't the best for me. Was always out late because she was drinking a lot of the times too, and she was always in and out of different meetings or in and out of jail. And it was a rough childhood, but I will also say I was grateful for it because I got really close with my brothers. I have a brother that's 35 and I have a brother that is 24, 25, so I had to help raise two of them. The other brother lives with my dad. And there was a lot of moving around. I moved with my dad for a while. I moved with my grandmom for a while. And we were always bouncing all over the place. But one consistent thing was my mom was always drinking. So it gave me a piece of knowing, like, who cares what I do? I'll do whatever the hell I want. And it made me a very angry child. I will say that. I used to get called spaz all the time because I would just be angry about things. And I will tell you that from that came the ability to try and fit in with people through drinking and through drugs. And from that, I continued to go down that path for a long time. When I was about 18 years old, my mom had a car, it might have been 17, my mom had a car accident where she got in an accident with a childhood friend of ours' mom. They crashed into each other, both drinking, and killed the woman. So, killed this woman, and from that, she went to prison. She was thrown through the windshield, had glass in her eye. She had this whole big scar on her face her whole time. So at 18, 17 years old, I had to, especially in a smaller town, I had to live with the fact that my mom killed someone. That was hard, number one. Number two, when we were in this place called Morrisville, PA, she fell asleep in the basement of my grandmom's house drunk and almost burned the entire house down. So she fell asleep with a cigarette in her hand and dropped it in some newspapers, and literally, thank God the dog woke me up in the middle of the night. I could feel this rubbing on my nose, and all of a sudden it was the fact that the dog woke me up that saved all of us. So I can see God coming into my life all the time there, especially in a case like that where I should have easily been dead. So it led into a lot of drinking and drugging, and when I was 21 years old, my mom, I'm home from college, I go into St. Joe's, and I'm home from school. My brother's home from Penn State, and we're sleeping in the basement. First time I ever saw my dad cry. He comes downstairs and tells us, "Hey, your mom is dead." And we're like, "What?" Woke up in the middle of the night. We were high from the night before. Woke up in the middle of the night. "What do you mean mom's dead? That doesn't make any sense." "She is dead. She drank herself to death behind Graham's house in King of Prussia in a cemetery." So from there, things spiraled out of control for a while. Drinking a lot, drugging a lot, especially when your mom passes away when you're 21. You were close with your dad, but not really that close. He was more your buddy than your dad. And a lot of things came from that I never saw until now were part of my life experiences, which I'm going to go over in a second. But what came from that was a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of anger, a lot of resentment, a lot of fear. And that continued to stay in my life for a long time, and for a long, long time. Because what happened from there was I went on a little bit of a path of drinking and drugging for pretty hard until this woman came into my life. And she came into my life, I used to tell her she was like an angel to me, because she was sent from my mom to help me stop things. Little did I know, of course, being that pattern person that I was and continuing to drink and drug for such a long time already, been about 6-7 years, I then went up to Penn State and I did some dumb things, and I ended up getting drunk at a Jay-Z and Kanye West concert and going to prison for 90 days because I was doing some wild shit after I got hammered with this woman, treating her like crap, being a crappy boyfriend, being crappy to other people. Ended up going to jail for 90 days. I get out of the jail. First of all, what I learned from jail, there are a lot of great people in jail. A ton. A lot of them are there for the wrong reasons. Some of them are there because they're supposed to be there. A lot of them are not. There are good people in prison, and that was one of the greatest lessons I learned. And I truly learned a lot about myself while I was there. I did a lot of things that I wasn't happy about, and when I got out, I still felt institutionalized, even though it was only 90 days. I used to wake up with nightmares, wake up that people were still calling chow, chow, in the morning at 6 a.m. to come down and get food. I used to clean shit off the toilets and clean the bathrooms and fold laundry and stuff, because I did stuff there that made me like very institutionalized. So I had a hard time, but I did graduate college. I ended up staying with this woman, we agreed when we were walking one night that we'd stay together even though I had 90 days, and when I came back we were still in a relationship, and I started working. When I got back, I was so institutionalized that I couldn't handle my own thoughts or myself. I was suffering all around and I didn't know what to do. One night, a family member came to me, we'll just say a friend, and this is before Percocets were known to be addictive, said, hey, I got something, if you want to feel better, here, try this. So I tried one, it felt like $1 million. And from there led it to a 12-year addiction history of addiction future, I should have said, now for me past, but 12 years of doing 5 Perk 30s every day for 10 to 12 years. And I did a lot of things while I was there. I stole things. I took money from people. I worked my way out of situations. I got into Adderall. I got into Kratom. I got into too much drinking. I got into cocaine. I got into all these things that were negative for me. I was masking things. I was hiding things from people. I was fearful of what others would think of me if they really knew. And there were a lot of things that came from that I now look back on as blessings, because I can relate to other people in sobriety about these. But the reason I'm telling you all this is, so then let me just finish actually this part, and then I want to tell you why I went through all this. I go through all these things. One day I get cheated on when I'm 31 years old, and I go through a rough divorce with that same woman that I told you about 10 years prior, that I've been with for about 10 years. And I went on a rampage of just public drunkennesses, and I had a DUI, and I had all these things happening to me, and they were things that I was bringing on myself because I was not learning anything about myself, and there was no change going on. There was no growth. It was just a stagnant, negative energy that constantly flowed my life. I told my dad one day golfing that I will drink and do drugs for the rest of my life. I told him that. I went there at like 8:30 in the morning one time, absolutely blitzed, and said, yeah, can't wait to drink now. And it was 8:30 in the morning. But coming from a household of all that kind of stuff, it was never really frowned upon. It was just do you. So I never really understood what addiction was or how I could conquer that. And what I will say is the reason that I wanted to share a little bit of a war story, not that it's a big, mine is, there's so much other things that happened. I just wanted to give a little bit of a background to it. The reason that I share that part of the story, the reason I wanted to go through all those things, there's so much more negative things that I did. But the reason I go through all that is, this is how my life changed from becoming sober and understanding that was God's gift to me, to have a second life now, to understand myself, understand the life process, understand experiencing a new life, and also I can relate to anybody on any level from all aspects of life. And the reason that is this is what I'm going to say about when you go down and you write your own story and you look back on things. One, you will notice a lot of lessons you learn from it. So for instance, when I was saying my mom was an alcoholic and I moved to schools a lot, yes, very true. But moving all around Philly, all around the suburb areas, I was friends with everyone. I was friends with white people, black people, Mexican people, fat people, short people, rich people, poor people, middle class people, farmers, Amish. It doesn't matter who you were. I was friends with everyone. I saw a version of myself in everyone else, and I always wanted to understand people better. It gave me a better understanding of how society works, how people work, how I started to work now that I look back on it, that we are all pattern individuals, and that we can, when you love one another, things just turn out really well for you. But it helped me, it shows me now that I'm able to relate to anyone at any level because of that. Two, when my addiction passed, yes, at the time I would have said, no, this is awful. Well, actually, I would have said I didn't even notice it. But now I understand patterns, how people work in patterns, how you can change patterns, how you can change beliefs, how I've walked in every addict and alcoholic shoes in some form or fashion, and I have healed from that. So if I can do it, anyone can do it, and it can be taught, it can be gifted. So that's another huge aspect of that. Another thing, these relationships that I was in, they were surface level relationships, a lot of them. I now have a girlfriend in my life who I am very much in love with, but when I understood more about myself and understood that the relationships that I was in were very surface level, I started to dissect, why do I believe these relationships are the right ones for me? And you start to understand more about like surface level relationships, how there's so many people in your life that when you are in a certain energy pattern, or you are in a certain relationship with people, they're really just trying to get things out of you a lot of times, because it is more of like a self-satisfaction thing. That was for me, at least. I had to remove myself from those situations. I had to remove myself from the Philadelphia area and find a community in the sober community to be able to relate more to people, to find deeper meaning in relationships, to find the love of my life. Another thing, I had a 4-year hiatus by myself, where after my divorce, I used to say all the time, I want to be completely alone. I don't want to talk to any women. I want to be by myself. What I had to do was I had to learn to love myself first. And I used to think it was, I didn't even think anything. I would just say to myself, the reason I'm doing this is because that's how I want to be. I know what's best for me. No, that wasn't true. Of course I wanted to be loved. Of course I loved others. I was fearful of another relationship. I was afraid and scared and resentful of my last one. But what happened for me is I went down a long healing path. God showed me that, hey, I'm going to help you love yourself, just like you did in the past. We're going to love ourselves, and then I'm going to send you something. Let me give you an example. About 3-4 months after I quit my job, I was in a real deep healing journey after I had my meeting with God. And I was on this deep healing path. I was going so far as to write what my future girlfriend / wife, whatever you want to say, would look like, what she would be like, how I wanted it to reflect what I was, which was loving and kind and joyous and compassionate. And I started to outward reflect those things. What happened for me was, after all this time of pushing women away, especially a couple women that I really liked, I'm going to the gym one day. I took a wrong turn. Instead of going to the gym, I went to this cryotherapy place. And the woman I am now with for over a year, the most loving, kind, energetic, happy, healthy woman, came back from Florida, was stood up on a date that she was supposed to have for wedding, was stood up on a date, came back from Florida just to go to this wedding in Philly, stopped at the cryotherapy place that I got some random sign to go to, and stopped there just to do cryotherapy with her dad. She was only there for the 5-10 minutes that I stopped. We told good go fish joke together. She only saw my head over top. We started talking, texting, hit it off with that joke, and now we've been together for a year. But God couldn't send me a relationship until I loved myself, because I would have ruined it so easily. I would have ruined it. So you can't start doing new things and receiving new things until you understand more about yourself and what your patterns are, so you don't destroy it. And that's part of what a lot of this is. Now I am sober, I am recovered, and I help other people get through recovery because God has given me the gift of it, so I give that away now. I couldn't have gave that away a year and a half, 2 years ago. No chance. I told people how to do it, why they shouldn't drink and all these things, why I was doing the things right next to them. And I knew that was the right thing. We all know what the right thing is. Your intuition is your internal GPS system. And I will tell you that I knew all the right answers. I just didn't want to do it myself because I was lazy. I was fearful of what that would be, or what people would think of me, or would I be rejected from my job, or who I am, or what I thought I was, which is nothing. You are everything. You are a version of God that is living this experience. And I know that I am no longer broken. I am no longer resentful. I am no longer suffering. I am no longer angry. I am no longer in these perpetual energy patterns of negativity. And I love that about myself. The other thing is I learned a lot about who I am as a person, because removing myself, before everything used to be so self-centered, and not in a bad way. I was kind to people still. I helped homeless people. I loved people, but I didn't know how to be the best version of me because no one ever taught me one, but I never tried anything. Everything I tried, except finance, which I was great at, everything I tried, I quit fast. Sobriety and helping others recover, I have not quit, and I am crushing it. Absolutely smashing it. And the reason that I'm able to smash it is because I am that. I am that version of me now that exists. I had to go through the dark to shine the light. And now that the light is shined, it is showing that you have, what I will say to you is you have to go through the darkness to understand where your light comes from. And now that I am that version, that is all that will ever exist. There is no other version of me. It's only going to be perpetual growth from here on out. It was only perpetual growth from the darkness forward. And now I understand more about myself. Every day I am introspective because I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything that hurts someone. I want to make sure I'm not doing anything that hurts myself. I want to make sure that I am loving the planet, that I am enjoying my experience, that I am living life. And all these experiences showed me, even the job that I used to hate, I look at it as I was grateful. It gave me the ability to know what I don't prefer. How would I know what I prefer if I never went through what I didn't prefer? It wouldn't even exist. It would just be. So now I know what I don't prefer. I don't prefer an office. I don't prefer finance. I don't prefer telling people bullshit lies about how they're going to retire when they're 65 and have this great life when they have no energy left. I don't enjoy those things. I enjoy telling you, live your life today. Be part of a community today. Do service for others today. Love yourself more today. Eat better foods to feel better about yourself today. Go through the pain just to make sure that you understand more of yourself. Suffering is self-created, and I created so much suffering for myself, and I'm not mad at it. I'm not. I'm actually grateful for it because now I know how I don't want to suffer, and I won't. Yes, there's pain in life. Yes, you will lose friends or family or animals or whatever it may, or a job or whatever it may be. Pain will always be there. But now I only have to choose pain instead of suffering and pain. And pain isn't even that bad anymore either because you realize that you're really living in a dream life when you look at your life. Like right now, look where I am. I'm in the middle of a park in Florida, enjoying every moment of this. I would have never been able to do anything like this before. I'd be stuck in an office. I'm talking to you, talking to friends. I'm enjoying my life. I have a new community around me. I'm helping others. I see people's light coming back on through sobriety. I'm learning about myself. I'm learning about God. I'm learning about the world. And when God is ready, you will be given something you don't expect. It's going to be like, boom, got it. That's the God moment that pops up just because it's not a material thing. It's a tool. It's an abundance. Right now, I've been given abundance of information. I've been given abundance of knowledge. I've been given an abundance of self-worth, of I deserve more, of I am love, abundance of love. Some of it was tough love, to get better, to be better. I just had to get out of my own way. But now that I'm there, now that I know that I can do all of this, now that I can know I can do more than this, I haven't tuned into that channel yet. But what I want to say from my past war story till now is that version of me, this version now, if you looked at that old version, which I'm going to put up here so you can see it, this old version of me was sick, was angry, was unhealthy, was doubting, was resentful, and now this version of me is love, kindness, joy, compassion, health, happiness, whole, unbroken. And I can promise you this, I don't even like to go back to that old version of the war stories most of the time. I'm just doing it now so that you'll get a good understanding of who I am and where I come from. But I'll tell you that with all the shit I've been through in my life, I am grateful for every step, every breath, every person, every place, every accident, every perceived failure. They're not failures, they're not relapses. Call them learning experiences, because that's what they are. Flip your perspective on things. Flipping your perspectives helps you conquer fears, because you understand that fear is fake. Fear is not real. You are making it up. Fear is because your body is telling you, your intuition, your energy is telling you, you are so close to something new. Don't be fearful, push forward, and watch the new person that comes out of that. So I'd love to hear some other people's stories. I'd love to hear what you got out of this. Like it, share it, let me know what you think. But I will tell you this. Every day, I do something new. Every day, I share something new with a new person or a family member or a friend or my girlfriend, because my perspective has shifted on who I am and what I'm here to do. Change a little bit each day and watch the world revolve you, watch the world around you change with you, because you are then, what you're doing is that your inner reflection of yourself is starting to appear outside. It is now casting back a new reflection. It's like a mirror. You can't look at a mirror and expect it to smile when you're frowning. You have to smile. And when you smile, it smiles too. And that's what the introspective work does. You go in, you reflect it outward, and then it is just you living your life through this human experience. Spirit living a human experience, loving the experience that you have. I love all of you guys. I would love to start getting some more people on this podcast to start sharing their stories, sharing their lessons, more about hope and faith and joy and kindness. So let's start getting this community involved. I love all of you, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care, everybody.